Hello, YouTube. Today, I'm going to discuss the difference in quality between an Ultra HD movie sourced from a UHD disc versus that same movie that's being sourced through 4K video streaming platforms. Okay, so your friend is telling you that there's a difference in quality between the 4K movie that you watch on Netflix versus the same 4K movie that they watch on a 4K Ultra HD disc player. Now, the point of this video is not to convince you that one format is going to be better than the other, but rather I'm going to show you the difference between the two sources and allow you to decide for yourself which you prefer. Now, to start, we need to examine how these two sources came about. When you're watching a 4K movie, you're basically playing back still images so quickly that your eyes believe there's motion. In the case of a 2-hour 4K movie, you're actually seeing over 400,000 still images transition across your screen. This incredible amount of data needs to be compressed in order to get it into your home. A 4K Ultra HD disc compresses the data so that it fits onto a 100 gigabyte disc. If we take out the menus, the movie extras, the alternative soundtracks, and really all the other features, it's going to result in just the movie in a single digital file that's approximately 60 to 80 gigabytes in size. Now, your streaming provider, on the other hand, is going to compress the data in such a way that it fits onto an 8 to a 20 gigabyte file. Now, I'm going to hit you with a whole bunch of numbers, but not to worry, I am going to show you video samples so you can decide for yourself which you prefer. What I'm going to do is directly compare three video sources and then show you what they look like on screen. Now, first and foremost, for consistency, each source contains identical metrics. They're all 3840 by 2160 in resolution or 4K resolution. They're all encoded with a 29.97 frame rate and using a 420 chroma sampling. Okay, so to get into it, Source 1 is a 7.34 gigabyte file that's sourced from a streaming provider. The video is said to have a bit rate of around 6 megabits per second. The audio has 6 channels and a bit rate of 500 kilobytes per second. Now, what is bit rate, you might ask? Bit rate is what a lot of people will use to reference the quality of a video or audio stream. So usually the higher the bit rate, the higher the quality the audio or video stream is. Now, source 2 is sourced from a different or higher quality streaming provider. The file size is 17.2 gigabytes, and the video has a bit rate of 14 megabits per second. The audio is still 6-channel, and it contains 800 kilobits per second of bit rate. Now, what about source 3? Source 3 is a whopping 71.4 gigabytes. It's sourced from an Ultra HD disc. The video is said to have a bit rate of 50 megabits per second, and the audio is 8 channels with 3000 kilobits per second bit rate. Now, you see, your friend is going to try to convince you that the audio is 6 times better or clearer, and the video is 8 times better or clearer. And they're basing this, of course, upon bitrate comparison. But you're probably wondering, what exactly does 8 times better video look like when I bring it onto my screen? That's what we're going to do in this video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause each of the sources on one particular frame so we can get a sense as to how clear of a picture that particular source is generating. As we know, lower quality video files will often have very poor quality still frames. For example, security cameras, recording 24 hours a day, stitching together millions of still frame photos. And this massive amount of data is greatly compressed, and it often results in such a poor quality still frame image that you can't even see who the suspect is in the security video. Now, what about our three sources? We're going to pause on the same identical frame, and we're going to compare the video quality. So here we go. Here's source 1, taken from our streaming provider.
Similarly, and they
I'm going to pause here and zoom in. I want you to notice the color banding on the edge of the pants of the actor. It looks like maybe this could be a halo effect that's caused by some kind of lighting. I want you to notice the front part of the pants. It appears very flat. And I want you to take note of the detail in the actor's pocket as well as their thumbnail. And lastly, I want you to notice that there's some weird orange highlights that are on the ground next to the actor. Now, as we transition to source 2, here we go, source 2. Notice the orange highlights on the ground are gone. The color banding on the edge of the pants is starting to look less like a lighting effect. It could be a stripe on his pants. The front part of the pants still looks rather monochrome and lacking in detail. The pocket, I notice no different. It looks exactly the same. Now the thumbnail is starting to appear with a little bit better definition to it. Now what about that Ultra HD disc, source 3? Let's bring that up now. The color banding on the pants is definitely now noticeable as part of the clothing. Perhaps it's like an orange reflective stripe that's stitched to the side of the pants. Notice the front part of the pants now also has a little bit more detail. You can actually see some motion wrinkles that are caused by the actor walking. Notice the pocket that really had not a lot of detail before. You can notice now there is some fraying in the stitching on the pocket. And the thumbnail definitely has a little better definition than what you saw from before. There's no change to the orange highlights on the ground. You can't see them. Now you might be thinking, those are really subtle differences. You'd say, I'd never noticed them. And you might be right. But in reality, it largely depends on the size and the quality of your display or television, the lighting in the room that you're watching your television, and other factors. If you're using a 60-inch television, that area that I zoomed in on would be about 9 inches in size. However, on a 120-inch television, that would be 18 inches in size. In other words, the size and the quality of your display can absolutely exemplify subtle differences in quality. Now, Netflix has further compressed their 4K content recently. In fact, their file sizes are said to be half of what they were before. Netflix publicly stated, our viewers will never notice the difference. What they didn't mention is that they pay royalties for the compression. In other words, these videos are compressed using what's called codecs. Netflix uses the HEVC codec to compress their HDR 4K content. And the smaller that they can make their files, the more money they will save by using that codec. So, all in all, you might not be able to discern the difference between streaming video and Ultra HD disc video, but on a higher quality and certainly on larger displays, it can be said that there is a viewable difference. Now, to close out this video, I'm going to show you other comparisons in this same video frame and allow you to see the difference between the streaming 4K content versus the 4K content that's on an Ultra HD disc. Thanks for watching.